Let's talk about space, because we've just seen America's Artemis 2 mission fly about the moon. And people are very excited, and people think it's a fantastic technological leap. And people are very excited, and people are saying that it's a fantastic technological leap. And yeah, that's all true, eh? But the problem for me is that it's all Americans, apparently. It's all Americans flying through space and doing American things and so on and so forth. The only thing, however, that people seem to forget is that none of this would have been possible. The entire mission would have been impossible without European technology, and basic European technology made this possible. But for some reason, people just don't seem to notice this stuff. Let me put it like this. I find it odd, though, that a whole bunch of Americans just went up in Artemis. They flew around the moon, and now they want to fly to the moon, land on the moon, and afterwards even go on to Mars and stuff like that. They do this with European technology, but for some reason, there wasn't even a European astronaut on board. I mean, is this just me? Is this weird or not? I mean, I would have said that if I were the European Space Agency, director of the European Space Agency, I would have said, okay, fine. We're gonna build this thing for you, but then in return, we also want a European astronaut on board. But for some reason, that just did not happen, and I find that really odd. Because let's look at that, Artemis 2, the European Service Module. Like if we zoom in on that, you see right there, it says NASA, yeah? And then it says ESA, European Space Agency, the logo is right there. You know why? Because a very large and important part of the Orion spacecraft has been built in Europe by Europeans. It's called, naturally, the European Service Module. And what does the Service Module do? Basically, it makes sure that everything goes, it works. It's the backbone of Artemis. It's the backbone of Orion. Because this is what it says here, eh? The Service Module supports the crew module from launch through to separation prior to re-entry. It provides in-space propulsion capability for orbital transfer, attitude control, and high-altitude ascent aborts. It provides the water and oxygen needed for a habitable environment, generates and stores electrical power, and maintains the temperature of the vehicle systems and components. This module can also transport unpressurized cargo and scientific payloads. So basically, the backbone of the Orion spacecraft was built in Europe. It's as simple as that. But at the same time, Europe is doing it for America, because it's Americans which are flying up there, flying around in a European spacecraft, basically built with European technology, which is, however, doesn't have a European astronaut on board. Is this weird or not? I mean, this just shows, to be honest though, let's be honest, it shows the basic European mindset, where Europe just continues to keep working for America and helping America with doing everything it basically needs, right? You see that Europeans, they keep on working for the US. You see it with Europe's almost desperate, pathetic membership of NATO, where we just expect the Americans to do our fighting for us and protecting Europe from the Russians, even though, let's be honest, the Russians haven't turned out to be the threat that everybody seems to think they are. Let's be honest about this. At the same time, European politicians, they keep on hammering on that American transatlantic relationship, that we shouldn't abandon it, that we should save it because it's such a vital part of Europe, apparently. Well, I think that is utter nonsense. Europe shows time and time again that we can do shit by ourselves, we can do our own stuff. And this includes space exploration. This includes flying to the moon in our own spacecraft, which we build ourselves, which we fly ourselves with our own astronauts. We can do this. Orion itself has shown that we can do this because we clearly possess the technology. We clearly can build these things. better than the Americans themselves can, because otherwise they would have built this themselves. But they didn't. They decided to get the European Space Agency. They decided to get Europeans to build this vital backbone of their spacecraft for them, because they know that when it comes to quality, when it comes to engineering, European engineering is still better than American engineering. Let's be honest about this. I mean, luckily though, apparently some people at least have in Europe have woken up and thought that, like, this is really weird, right? Why is it that Americans can build moon bases and stuff like that on the moon with using European technology, but Europeans can't? So apparently now the European Space Agency said that they are planning their own moon base, permanent moon base on the moon by 2040. About bloody time, you know? About bloody time that we start thinking about doing European things for Europe without always relying on the US, without always relying on the rest of the world, you know? We honestly, like in Europe, we don't need the US, we don't need China, we don't need Russia, we don't need the rest of the world. We can do shit by ourselves. We are, in the EU alone, we have 450 million inhabitants. We have a gigantic economy. We got science, we got technology, we've got talent, we have everything that we need to make this work. So we can make it work. Definitely. And luckily, finally, in Europe, people are finally thinking about, wait, you know, we shouldn't let this, just give this to the Americans. We can do this ourselves. So finally, the European Space Agency is imagining a moon base and saying that they, you know what, we might just have to, we can build a moon base on the moon by 2040. So it's about bloody time. So this actually makes me pretty damn happy, to be honest. For a change, there's something happy, you know, some happy thoughts, something to be happy about in Europe. Because even though the Americans, of course, decided to go there first, even though they're doing it with European technology and European engineering and European know-how, at least Europeans are slowly waking up and saying that, you know, we can do this by ourselves and we should do this by ourselves. It's about time. It's about time. And honestly, as a European, I cannot wait to see Europeans actually launch our own spacecraft to the moon and do some exploring and building up there, and just, honestly, I cannot wait to see this happen. I cannot wait, because it's high tide that Europeans go back to their roots of explorers. Europeans are the world's biggest explorers. We have gone all over the place, and now it is time again for Europeans to go out there, to push back the final frontier. Because that is what we are as Europeans. We are explorers. The biggest explorers, the best explorers on planet Earth.